From the 260 to the 469, welcome to the exclusive champion interview of the DNFL. The champ is here. He's here right now. We have Forrest Leuenberger in the flesh, as Forrest would say. How's it going? Forrest, welcome to the playoff recap. Can you give your best? How's it going?
You want me to say how's it going to myself?
Yeah, or to me. You can say it to me.
Adam, how's it going?
Uh, it's going well. I feel like maybe we didn't get that off right, but maybe mine was more
I can
exaggerated.
I can I can do my imitation of your imitation of me. How's it
Yes.
going?
Yeah, that sounded great. Yeah. Good job there.
Excellent, excellent, perfect.
But yeah, Forrest, you looking good, Forrest, as I've said and I think others have said. To start off things, like what's been the secret to new and improved Slim Forest?
New and improved Slim Forest. Yeah. I think it kind of starts with diet. Like I've been cutting out sugars, cutting out bad oils, grains, stuff like that. Um, really really hitting the protein and healthy fats, stuff like that. And really, the new and improved Slim Forest really started when, by God's grace, I lost my desk job
There you go.
back last November. So that sedentary lifestyle wasn't really an option for me anymore. So I went from sedentary desk job to like brutal factory work environment. So I dropped like 20 pounds in like 6 months.
Yeah.
Actually, less than 6 months, more like four. And so,
Nice.
and working with vets as, industrial commercial plumber, that's definitely helping keeping it off.
Nice. Is he making you dig a lot? Are you digging a lot?
I do dig a lot, but everybody digs a lot. So, I'm not doing like more digging than anybody else except vets because he's not really supposed to be.
Oh, I see. That makes sense. But yeah, again, looking great, Forrest. You're looking
Yeah.
great.
Thank you.
That was kind of my lead off question for you, but your
Yeah.
league mates, they had some burning questions for you. Thank you to the two loyal listeners who sent me questions. So to start things off, Forrest, some things that your league mates want to know about not only Forrest, the fantasy football player, but Forrest. Um, yeah, to start things off, what's the story behind fat pads?
Yeah, I'm sure some of us, Brian, know the answer to that question. But for those who don't know, back in college, I worked as a janitor at Blackhawk Christian local school.
Oh, go Braves.
With with Josh Summer, Connor Bland, the old crowd, and I was carpet cleaning. The math room, like right down the hall near this one of the sets of stairs that goes upstairs near like the kind of central area.
Yeah, I know exactly what room you're talking about.
Yeah. So I was carpet cleaning in there, and I was wearing this old pair of Sambas, the indoor soccer shoes, and they had like worn down to like no tread at all because they were so old. So I'm carpet cleaning in there, spraying chemicals, and I forgot something to that I needed to clean the carpets.
What'd you forget?
So I don't even remember, honestly. Something. Um, and So with my chemically coated, no tread Sambas, I run from the carpeted classroom out into the tile hallway and
Yes.
just ate it. Jacked up my elbow. And so I went to ReadyMed to get it checked out. And
Do
apparently,
you think Ready Med was the first good option?
I actually knew a friend of mine whose mother worked there, and
Okay.
so that was kind of like why it was my first thought. I didn't
Okay.
really have any good rhyme or reason why I went there,
Okay. Okay.
and so it turns out that everybody has fat pads in their joints. It helps with your the bones in your joints not like scraping together. And so I had like burst a fat pad. And a couple of guys that I was hanging out with at the time thought that was just hilarious that I had burst a fat pad. So that's where fat pads comes from.
Okay, how do you recover from a fat pad injury? Do you just eat more fat to replace the fat that you broke?
No, you just kind of put your arm in a sling for a couple of days and it just kind of heals up.
Okay, that makes sense. Like any
Yeah.
good injury, a little bit of rest never hurt anyone.
Yep.
But thanks for walking me through that. The last burning question that your league mates had for you:
Mm.
more kids or more chips? When I originally read this, I was like, maybe Forrest likes a good bag of potato chips or tortilla chips. I know I do. But no, this is championships, Forrest. So, more kids or more chips?
Yeah, that's tough. It's definitely a tough question. I definitely want, as you know, a good number of each if possible. Right now, me and Kelsey are talking about either 4 or 6 kids, and we're already at 3. And I have 2 chips, so right now more kids. But I think I have a little bit more control over the kids than the chips, actually. So
Yeah.
I guess we'll, we'll see how things go, and um, God willing, I'll get as many as I'm supposed to get of either.
Yes. And maybe one more championship.
Maybe three-peat. We'll see.
Maybe, we will see. But going on to the questions that everyone is here for, the championship questions for Forrest. Looking back at your championship season, I'm curious because honestly, I was at the draft. I was just paying attention to what people were doing. And I'll be honest, Forrest, you know that one, it's like a meme where it's like, it might be Paul Rudd, it might be the Hot Ones thing, where it's like, "Do you expect either of us to be here?" Like, "I didn't," or I might be butchering it, but that's kinda where I was at the beginning of the year. I'm like, "Is Forrest gonna pull this off?" So, yeah, I'm surprised we're having this conversation, but
Yeah.
going into the auction and after the draft, like, what was your plan and how were you feeling afterwards?
Ironically, I was actually feeling better this year after the draft than I was last year when I had a way better record and a way easier time winning the championship. I felt pretty good. Um, there are a couple guys that I was really high on Derrick Henry, and that turned out to be, a
Yeah,
fairly obvious, go. Except Jaden was willing to just go a little bit higher than me, and
yep,
so missed on that. But I think it actually kind of worked in my favor because my 2 starting running backs I ended up, riding with for the majority of the season were James Cook and Josh Jacobs.
mm,
And I only spent combined on those guys, I think maybe 55 or somewhere around there. And that was how much guys were paying for like one like top tier premium running back. And so
mm,
having both of those guys to fill my roster spots, and both of them ended up being top 10 guys. And so that definitely helped me out a lot, I think, because my money was more like evenly allocated instead
mhm.
of dumping it into one guy. I had 2 guys that were doing not obviously as well as Derrick Henry.
Forrest. Oh, no. Forrest is gone. Um, Sorry, audience. We are going to see if we can get Forrest back. Um, Trying to see. Bear with me. Hmm. Have frozen Forrest right now. This was a good interview. Um, um, hmm. I am going to end this recording and see if I can bring Forrest back to finish. But stay tuned for part 2. Oh, Forrest left. I think he's gonna come back. So, this is unplanned, but I'm just gonna try to fill time in right now. Checking my phone to see what Forrest says. My mom just texted me and asked, no, she told me, that she has my stuff from Costco. There are some things I eat regularly that I buy in bulk from Costco. And my parents have a membership there. So it's nice that they're able to get me some of that stuff and then I pay them back. Let me reach out to Forrest to see if he's getting back on. Oh, he's back. We've got Forrest back.
Back. Sorry about that. Yeah.
No worries. I filled time. But you were talking about Josh Jacobs and James Cook. So you would
Yeah.
say those players, that's good value. Derrick
Yeah.
Henry, even though
Absolutely.
he finished high, not good value.
Sure. Yeah. I actually think James Cook might have under performed. If Josh Allen wasn't so dead set on proving he's Superman, then I think James Cook would have got a lot more, red zone touches that would have ended up being touchdowns for him. But yeah, I mean, when you got two running backs that end up in the top 10, those guys are, I mean, they're going to produce just as much or more likely more than Derrick Henry. And so I think that was definitely good value for me.
Yeah, definitely. That makes more sense learning more about your team because honestly, I'm looking at things and I'm like, how did he pull it off? But that makes more sense. Thanks for walking
I'll
through
tell you how
that.
I really pulled it off,
Yeah. And we'll
the
get,
Homer play to
yeah.
play Brian Thomas Jr.
Yeah. How much did you pay for him? Like a few dollars?
$3 because
Yep.
homie's a jerk.
Nice. Hey, he was a freak at LSU and even more of a
Yeah,
player in the NFL. I think he had like the same measurables in the combine as like Calvin Johnson, which I don't think a lot of people picked up on, but
yeah.
fun fact there. But yeah, to start off the season, your team started really slow. I'm
Hmm.
wondering, like, what were some key moves that you were able to make throughout the season that helped propel you to a title?
Yeah. Last year I think it was the trades that I did make. Um, I made a couple of good trades. The one that really sticks out to me was acquiring Sam Laporta when he was on his hot streak late last season, and then picking up Dak Prescott near the end of the year when he was making his MVP push. But this year, I actually think it was the opposite. I actually think that the moves that helped me get to the championship were not the moves that I made, but the moves that I didn't make.
Oh,
Like riding the guys that I believed in instead of making trades and kind of panicking with my roster. There were definitely a few instances where people are trying to acquire, like Josh Jacobs or Sam Darnold um, from my roster, kind of like low value because my season was kind of struggling. And I actually think my ability to go 6-8, but then still win the championship was not panicking and still believing in those guys that I had on my roster and, riding those guys. Um, Also, picking up Jalen McMillan on his little hot streak here at the end of the season, that
mm,
was very helpful because I did not feel good about playing two rookie wide receivers and Michael Pittman in the championship, but it worked out.
yeah, it worked out. Yeah,
It
I
did.
think Darn Dog, top 10 Darn Dog was definitely a surprise this year for a lot of people, but thanks for walking me through just sticking with your guys and riding it out, having faith in your team. But yeah, getting that fat cash at the end of the year. Um, how are you looking to spend your winnings, Forest, with another championship under your belt?
I'm not really sure. I mean, it's not it's not as fat of a stack as last season, with half of it going to Caleb, but
Mm,
for the season. But
yeah, I'll be
uh,
honest, Forest. There's a quote by I forget who said it on the Bulls. It may have been from someone else, but they made shirts. And it said 72 and 10 doesn't mean a thing without the ring. I don't know if things will change in our league in the future, but I believe the best team in the league should be the team that's able to win when it matters most. That's just my opinion. I don't have much agency in this league. I just talk about the league. I don't know if anyone will watch this afterwards, but I think there should be more allocation to the actual playoff champ, but I don't make those decisions. But
Mhm.
anyways, what were you saying on how you would want to spend your winnings?
I haven't really thought too much about it, but maybe take Kelsey out for a nice dinner, something like that. Um, that's really the only thing that comes to mind for me right now. I don't really. There's not really a lot of things out there that I'm in need of currently, or anything like that, or you know things that I'm looking to buy. So for now, it might just, I don't know, sit in the bank, um, or go out, you know, get a nice dinner, something like that, probably.
Hey, getting a nice dinner with your wife, great answer, Forrest. Great answer. Yeah, just moving on to our last few questions. Looking ahead to next season, how early are you going to need to wake up for the waiver wires to accomplish the elusive three-peat?
So that kind of triggers some PTSD for me a little bit. The reason I was active at the waiver wire, for the people who don't know, the reason I was active on the waiver wire at 3 a.m. that year was because my firstborn daughter was not letting me sleep more than an hour at a time for about 6 months or so. So I was up at 3 a.m. every day, not just on Tuesdays. Um, so that was a little bit rough. But I mean, I'm up at a little bit before 5 every day anyway. So I mean, probably then.
Yeah, that makes sense. So if you want those claims, you'll have to wake up before 5 like Forrest. But I think the waivers reset at 6, so I think everyone's fine. But back to my really the thought behind that question, just throwing that in there because we got to keep this a little light and a little, give give the audience some laughs here and there. But I'm just wondering, for you to three-peat, repeat next year, three-peat, um, what do you think you're going to have to do in order for that to happen?
Yeah, I really think that fantasy football is a little bit nonsensical. Like, you can obviously do it poorly, Dave, but
Wow.
um, I think um, it's I think the discrepancy in our league is evidence that if you go in with some kind of plan and spend your money at least somewhat wisely on not CMC, then you should have a fairly good season and a fairly good shot at making a playoff run. I think our playoffs were really high scoring, really competitive. So I mean, I'm probably one of the most surprised of anybody that I was actually able to make a playoff run from the eighth spot going into the playoffs at 6-8. But yeah, I don't know. Probably listened to a lot of Bill Simmons and probably make my own opinions about who who I like, who I don't like. Not get debated by Sean McVay when he says
Mm.
that Kyron Williams is going to be returning, punts. That really threw me off Kyron Williams, even though it probably should not have. I don't know. Maybe I'll just be a homer and draft a bunch of Jags guys again. Um, yeah, I think it really at this point, with this season not even being over yet, it's really hard to say exactly what I will think is a winning strategy. But I think, yeah, just spending my money the way I want to, and I might try to spend a little bit more money on a quarterback this season or next season, I should say. I got kind of stuck with Caleb Williams and Trevor Lawrence for a little bit until Sam Darnold and Jared Goff kind of saved my season.
Mm.
So maybe I'll try to spend a little bit more money in the quarterback department so my season doesn't have such a slow start. But other than that, I think it just really depends on what happens in the off season, what happens here in the playoffs. I mean, literally anybody could have a season-ending injury in the playoffs, so who knows?
Who
But I think
knows?
just spending my money with good value.
Yeah, with good value.
Mm.
Is that good value? Fantasy football, mutual funds, over HELOCs all day, every day. But Forrest, next year, end of season, will you be remembered more as the bad boy Pistons going on a two-peat or the Heatles winning two in a row? Right here, right now, Forrest, will you accomplish the elusive three-peat?
Well, as a finite being, I can't say for certain that I will, but I will certainly be trying my hardest to.
Okay.
I certainly don't want to be associated in any way with the Heat. Um, so yeah, I mean, I'd love to get the three-peat. I'd love the trophy to be named after me. That'd be pretty funny.
Yeah.
No matter what the league decides the name is going to be. I saw Fat Pat's fantasy football trophy being floated around. I think that's
Mm,
funny. So I'm fine with whatever. Uh, but yeah, I think I would certainly like to win a three-peat.
definitely. It would put you in rare company up with those Chicago Bulls teams and those Lakers teams accomplishing the three-peat. But last question for you today, Forrest. Fantasy football, it should be fun. It should be something that you enjoy with your friends, just a good time. What advice would you give for your league mates next season so that they can experience that same passion, that same fantasy football glory that you experienced this season?
Yeah, I think if you want to have a lot of fun with fantasy football, I think drafting guys that you're going to enjoy rooting for
Mm,
is a must. Um, make some of those. Spend a couple extra bucks to make that homer pick, man. Like that's one of the biggest things. Like if you want to have fun with fantasy football, like homer it up. Like homie, pay more money for Josh Jacobs next time so you can root for him.
wow.
Uh, yeah, I mean, I think I think I really enjoyed rooting for two rookie wide receivers at the end of the season. Like that's fun to just watch guys break out and have huge games. I was this close to getting Baker Mayfield early on in the season when he was blowing up, and I think I love rooting for Baker. He is a
Mm,
lot of fun to watch. He is a fun guy to just root for to do well.
mm,
I think that's also why I like having Sam Darnold. I like having Jared Goff because they're just guys you like to root for. Like you love to watch Sam Darnold having this crazy good season after just being on terrible teams and terrible situations. He's finally getting to shine with maybe one of the best wide receiver cores in the league. So that's a lot of fun. And just watching Jared Goff huck it 40 times a game, that's a lot of fun. Watching the Lions be great, that's a lot of fun. I think just, yeah, the secret is just find guys that you want to root for, and you're not gonna be bummed out to have to root for guys that you don't even like.
that's good advice for us. That's good advice for fantasy football and also in life too. But I hope some of your league mates will listen to this, will take some of what you said to heart so that they too can enjoy fantasy football next season. Thanks so much for your time today, Forrest. Just talking through more about who is Forrest and also how did Forrest repeat this year. Until next time, this is the DNFL and Adam Miller playoff recap signing off. See you guys next season.
See you guys.